19th, 2025 special meeting of the Select Committee on the Comprehensive Plan will come to order. It is 2:21. My name is Joy Hollingsworth. I am the chair of the Select Committee. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Kettle?
Here.
Councilmember Moore?
Present.
Council President Nelson?
Present.
Councilmember Solomon?
Here.
And Chair Hollingsworth?
Here.
5 present.
5 present. Awesome. We will now consider the agenda, and if there are no objections, the agenda will be adopted. Hearing no objection, the agenda will be adopted. Today for public comment, we'll only be accepting written public comment. Please drop off your written public comments to the front of chambers, or you can send in your thoughts on the comprehensive plan to council@seattle.gov, council@seattle.gov. That sends it to all of the 9 council members. We have a loaded agenda today with our city departments and OPCD and our mayor's office, so we're really excited to have you all. Will the clerk please read item 1 into the record?
Agenda item 1, Seattle's Comprehensive Plan and Planning for Facilities and Services for briefing and discussion.
Thank you, and I don't want to invite you to the table because you're already here. So please introduce yourself for the record, and you can just jump right into the presentation. Thank you.
Quick introductions around the table. I'm Rico Kidding-Dongo, Director of the Office of Planning and Community Development. Michael.
Michael Hubner, Long Range Planning Manager in the Office of Planning and Community Development.
Francisca Steffen, Senior Deputy Director at SDOT.
And Jonathan Lewis, Transportation Planning Manager at SDOT.
And I'm Annie Hindenlang, the Planning Manager for Seattle Parks and Recreation.
So we've got a number of us in the room today, so we also have some folks in the seats that we're going to bring up for a round 2 of presentation. What we wanted to do today was talk about how, in collaboration with our other capital departments and other departments of the cabinet, how we work together to bring forth the content of the 200 pages that's the core of the comp plan. We also want to talk about how each of our departments does our work in our annual work plan related to planning in general, and then how that informs what you were all seeing in the plan. I hit that.
I think you're turning it over to me, Rico. Good afternoon, council members. So we, in January, LPCD was here and we talked about the mayor's proposed strategy for accommodating growth in housing and jobs over the next 20 years. Today, we're going to focus on growth in the city, but from a different, more comprehensive perspective. And especially our work with key departments who are represented here today and will be speaking for the work that they do to collaborate with us, to partner in developing the comprehensive plan update, and to plan for and serve growth as it occurs in the city. So I'm going to start by providing just an overview of that collaboration and then turn it over to panelists in each of the departments to talk about their piece of the overall pie, which is the comprehensive plan and meeting our growth needs over the next 20 years. So just to ground us here to begin with, the plan itself is a vision and policy document. It talks about growth and investment. It guides the work of multiple departments across the city, both to plan for and to serve our residents as we grow and to maintain a high quality of life as we grow over time. It has that growth strategy, which shows where and how we anticipate development and growth in different parts of the city to accommodate future needs. The plan is shaped by, as we've discussed previously, different layers of growth management requirements and policies at the state and regional levels. Both the State Growth Management Act, our regional plan, Vision 2050, our countywide planning policies don't only shape how we plan for growth, development, and land use, but also have substantive requirements and policies that speak to how we serve that growth with transportation, capital facilities, parks and open space, and other elements of that complete picture, which is our comprehensive planning. Importantly, the comp plan has to be consistent with each of those sets of requirements under our growth management framework, and has to be consistent across the different elements of the plan. This slide shows the table of contents in the One Seattle plan. It is quite similar to the table of contents that's been in the comprehensive plan in years past. There have been a couple of changes with this update, as there always are. There are 13 policy elements. Most of these, as the slide indicates, are actually required under the Growth Management Act. There are 4 technical appendices, including background data and analyses. They're also responsive to requirements in the Growth Management Act, especially in the areas of transportation, housing, capital facilities, and utilities. And then we have a section for sub-area plans. These are smaller plans for sub-areas of the city, specifically our regionally designated growth centers and manufacturing and industrial centers. Those won't be included in the legislation to adopt this major update, but will be brought to the council through separate legislation and will be adopted into the plan. They're also within the comprehensive plan itself and become part of the plan when they're adopted. So as I mentioned, the comprehensive plan is a policy document. It does not include a lot of the actions and programs that are needed to serve the city as it grows, but it provides guidance and a framework and talks about how we would serve the city over time. It is developed and intended to be coordinated and consistent with the planning that each department does on its own around its own lines of business. The functional plans, the strategic plans, they're developed by our partner departments, and that's why we work so closely with them in developing the comp plan. It all has to be coordinated and consistent, and it informs the actual sets of actions the city takes. Zoning and other regulations, capital investments, budgeting, and departmental work plans. I think I just skipped a slide there. There we go. So we work closely with nearly 20 departments across the city in developing the plan update. We had an interdepartmental team. You can see the members of that team, which departments are represented on it. We met over a more than 2-year period regularly with the team as a whole, and also in subsets, smaller groups of departments in collaboration around developing the new goals and policies in the plan elements. We also had several agencies from outside the city that met, were part of the IDT because their work, the services they provide are so integral to the comprehensive plan. Agencies like Metro, Port of Seattle, and others. So as we worked with those departments on the substance of the plan itself, we focused on a number of different things that needed to be updated with the One Seattle plan. The new goals and policies in each policy element. These were informed by the strategies and plans that those departments had developed since the last time we updated the comprehensive plan in 2015. So they brought their work to the table. We looked at what they had developed in the intervening years, incorporated that into the comprehensive plan. We increased alignment on key goals and providing more meaningful guidance around the types of programs and investments that each department has been making as that has evolved over time. We updated terminology and the narrative to have alignment, so we're using the same kind of language. It's more legible to the public. It's more understandable how the plans work together. And very importantly, incorporated the new growth strategies so that each of our partner departments knows how much growth we're planning for, where we are planning for it across the city, different centers and corridors, so that they can be prepared for growth that may occur in the future. And then we had updated the information in our appendices to reflect what we know about recent trends, potential needs for services and infrastructure going forward. There's background data and analyses, inventories of the existing facilities that are provided by each of our departments across the city, what planned facilities they have, a description of the approach of each department and how they plan for and serve growth over time, and other information to meet state and regional expectations. So I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues in other departments. We're going to take it in order today. There aren't enough chairs here at the table to have all of the departments here at one time, but there are 6 key departments we identified to highlight today with a brief presentation from each of them. Transportation, SDOT, Department of Parks and Recreation are both here at the table with me right now. And as for the balance of the meeting, we'll also bring Seattle Public Utilities, City Light, Seattle Police Department, and Seattle Fire Department to talk about what they did in working with us as well. And there are some key questions that we've asked each of the departments to address for you today. How they plan for meeting the future needs for growth in the city, their approach to providing needed facilities and services over time as we grow, key metrics that they use to indicate when services and investment needs are evident, and the relationship of their work to the comprehensive plan update. So with that, I'll turn it over to my colleagues at SDOT.
And real quick before you start, can just to let my colleagues know, you're more than welcome to raise your hand and ask questions throughout the presentations, just because there's going to be transitions in between different city departments, and I know the shuffling between folks, so just wanted to throw that out there for you all. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Really happy to be here. I'm excited to answer any questions you might have. This has been an incredibly strong partnership between SDOT and OPCD and other departments. We've been really pleased with the ability to work together and work together closely throughout the process. And there was a really great temporal alignment between SDOT and our Seattle Transportation Plan development that was adopted in April of 2024, as well as the development of the comprehensive plan. And we've been really thrilled with being able to work with our departments as well as other state and regional partners and transit providers. As SDOT, we also have formalized relationships not just within the city, but also outside the city with folks that we rely on every day to do operations. We partner with them to do capital coordination and operational coordination to keep people moving on a day-to-day basis. So in working with OPCD, we were really pleased to have meetings consistently throughout the process. We collaborated quite a bit on policy development, as Michael spoke to. We coordinated as we were developing projects to go into our Seattle Transportation Plan and having those reflected in the comp plan. We partnered quite a bit on community engagement as well. We're present at a lot of the outreach. We use those outreach times as a chance to talk to community about transportation, as well as working through the environmental review process. You see in the EIS, the draft EIS reflected had prior information, and the final has been updated with the Seattle Transportation Plan information, which is no small lift, and we're really grateful that OPCD incorporated that new information into the work, and it's a real evidence of our partnership. So STP and the growth plan are definitely intimately and integrally linked. We are happy that they're sort of landing together, and that the language does really reflect the latest thinking of SDOT at a high level and provides a wonderful umbrella for our detail to live within. We have been, just to sort of wax poetic a little bit, the city, we look at these sort of investments. There's a couple different ways to look at transportation investments. One is sort of city serving, and another is city shaping. And I think we have a little bit of both happening in this partnership. When we talk about city serving, we can talk about things like adding a light rail station at the U District, where there was already a high density of activity. And also the planned light rail stations in South Lake Union Uptown. But then there's also city shaping things that we do, and that is reflective in the sub-area work for 130th, for Roosevelt. Those are areas where transportation and zoning are coming together to shape a new place, and we're working really hand in glove to make sure that those things are working well together. A lot of our SDOT work falls sort of along that spectrum, both serving current need and enabling movement that can benefit sort of current and future users. And I think that's important because we as both a capital and operating agency have a lot of roles that we play. And there are levers in our operating side of the house that actually really are meaningful in the land use conversation. There's a lot of ways that we can, and you can change the slide, there's a lot of ways we can get more out of our streets. We obviously have a city in which we have limited roadway width. We have a beautiful but complex geography to serve. And so getting the most out of our streets is really important. And as we know, we're going to continue to grow. We know our right-of-way width is likely to remain the same. So the comp plan reflects our key policies priorities that enable more efficient travel within that space, to make it a geometry problem. How do we move more people in the same space we have? Because we can. It is possible, and that's what a lot of the policies and the way that we've collaborated reflects. You can see in this graphic, if we can move people to carpools, we can move more people in the same space. Bicycling further accentuates that. Transit and walking, all modes that we are seeing, that we are emphasizing, that we're reflecting our road, we're rebuilding and managing our roads to accommodate those uses as well. So, next slide. That takes me to our capital plan. We have a very robust capital plan, and I would be remiss if I didn't thank the voters yet again for voting for the levy. That's a huge, huge, huge investment for our community. That's going to fund really important maintenance and modernization work, strengthening our bridges, our new sidewalks, and much more. But we also have a base of work that's not just levy funded, that is work that we do all the time for crucial maintenance, for operations, for signal work to keep people moving. And that work is guided by the Seattle Transportation Plan, our transportation equity framework, and our asset management and program priorities. And those all live, I see the comp plan as an umbrella under which a lot of these things live, and SDOT moves them forward with they're compatible with the broad policy statement of the comp plan. When SDOT is moving forward and selecting capital projects, we're driven by our North Star of safety. That is where we start every effort we're doing to keep people on our streets moving and safe. But then we move into a lot of data-driven and responsive selection processes that you see reflected in the comp plan, in the Seattle Transportation Plan modal elements. So we take that base, because those modal elements reflect a ton of good analysis, and then we operationalize that on an annual or biannual basis to come up with capital investment. And that is informed by investments that move the most number of people, investments that are well geographically distributed throughout the city, being thoughtful of an opportunistic about working with others, and SPU and SEL are key partners of ours. If we're opening up the street, they'd like to get in there and replace the utilities, and if they're opening up the street, we'd love to get in there and pave it over better than it was before. So we like to work together to do that. We're also really informed by opportunities to co-create with the community. When people come to us with a need or an idea, that we can be responsive and nimble and help be responsive to the localized needs. And also leveraging of grant and partner investments. But as I sort of have alluded to, there's much more than just our capital work that is aligned and is also reflected in the comp plan, and that is the way in which we incentivize and help move travel behavior through programs like our work with employers, with large venues like the stadiums, and helping to provide incentives, knowledge, and behavior change cues to help get the most out of our travel system. Service planning with Metro and Sound Transit, certainly an ongoing partnership there that we work continuously to look at boardings and alightings and where we might need services. And then we actually purchase additional services through the Seattle Transit Measure, right? We're buying bus trips in order to make sure that the people of Seattle have good service, reliable service all day long and into the weekends. We also work on management and operations strategies. A lot of the signal work, our ITS and signal synchronization work, as well as tons of curbside management. Just so much work in trying to make sure that businesses have access at the curb. We've got loading, we've got short-term access and school access, as well as encouragement programs like Safe Routes to School, and working on things to get ORCA cards in the hands of everyone who needs them, making it so that affordability is not the barrier to movement in our city. And last but not least, development code review, very relevant to today, in that we work with development when it comes in on a street improvement plan, so that they're leaving their block and their street frontage better when they leave it, in terms of providing better access if a sidewalk is missing, and replacing it and or doing other improvements in the area. And speaking last to our performance metrics, we have an entire appendix in the STP that is performance metrics. I will not walk you through all of that, but just highlight that we have a lot of really key pieces. We've got safety metrics in terms of meeting our Vision Zero goals, reducing fatal and severe injury collisions. We've got modal goals that include vehicle miles traveled and percentage of people walking, biking, and riding transit. That's related, obviously, to greenhouse gas emissions if we add electrification to it. And we've got network goals, making sure we've got a percentage of people within an X distance to an all ages and abilities bike facility, or an X minute walk to a high frequency transit route. We also have affordability metrics, making sure that we're trying to manage the amount that households are burdened by transportation costs, and asset management ones in terms of keeping our infrastructure in a state of good repair. So it's a wide spectrum of safety, mode shift, network completion, and asset management and affordability. So a lot of things guiding our work, a lot of data-driven work, and on an annual and biannual cycle as we're doing our building plans. And with that, I will wrap up, and we're here for questions.
Sorry. Thank you. My apologies. I couldn't grab the microphone fast enough. I will pause to see if my colleagues have any questions about SDOT and the growth in our city, if anything. If not, I had a question, but I'll wait and pause. I don't know if Council President or anyone?
I do.
Yeah, Council President?
I appreciate that you, on this slide 16, you mentioned percent of people walking, biking, or riding transit, and I understand that this is looking forward with the fulfillment of the goals in our comprehensive plan. Do you have existing performance metrics for these for different modes and for different programs that you are instituting in the right-of-way? I'm speaking about bus-only lanes, rapid ride, pedestrian crossing protections, et cetera?
And your question is, do we have, we do have, we track all of that, of course, and have a really good mapping system to keep an eye on where our assets are and where the opportunities are. If you're looking for specific numbers around, for example, how many people walk as part of their trips and things like that, we could follow up with the numbers.
Yeah, it's just good to know where, how good is your baseline data right now so that we know
SDOT,
how robust
and apart
it is.
from our Puget Sound Regional Council, we have really good data in Seattle. So we have an excellent handle on how people are moving around the region in Seattle, as
what
well
the goals
as our
of the
assets.
okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
And when I was, what I meant by performance metrics is what are the performance metrics you're trying to achieve by improvements in the right-of-way, such as those improvement of the different modes?
well, if I'm following you, by way of one example, we track how many households live close to frequent transit network. That's approximately 55% today, let's say. I can get the official numbers for you after if you'd like. And our goal is to get that up to 68%. So we want to see that increase, and we do that by, there's two main ways that we as a city do that. We invest in transit service, make more routes more frequent. And then also through the growth strategy, seeing more growth around transit. Francisca mentioned, the city serving and city shaping. And so as we allow for more density near our transit, we see more growth, and then we're also investing to serve new areas. And we track that, that's a measure that we track every year, and we've seen a lot of progress in that, in increasing the number of folks that live near frequent transit. And that's true across the board for all of the measures that we keep an eye on.
Thank you.
Awesome. Any question, Councilmember Solomon or Councilmember Kettle, Councilmember Moore? No? Awesome. Well, all you all had to do, come on here and just say, hey, we're going to fix the late 8, and everyone would have been happy with I'm just playing. That's a joke. but I do know that's on our priority list for our district. No, thank you so much. It was super informative. Council President Nelson asked the question that I was actually trying to get to as well. So thank you. So yeah, thank you. Pretty simple.
So I think we're going to move on to our colleague from Seattle Parks and Recreation, Andy Hindenlang.
Thank you. Thank you. Do you want to go to the next slide?
Oh, yes, of
Thank you.
course.
Thank you all for having us here today to kind of talk a little bit more about the planning that we're doing. And I'm excited to kind of share what we were able to do working with OPCD and the other departments, as well as kind of what we have planned coming in the next couple of years. As you're probably familiar, the One Seattle plan kind of establishes the high-level policies and visions and goals that help us determine how we make decisions and prioritize our work. But through this process, which we intended and had representation at most of the engagement sessions they held, they also attended some of the engagement work that we do. And we've had many working sessions as we were reviewing the goals and objectives that were added into the plan. We've been able to identify additional opportunities for improvement, especially between interdepartmental coordination, which for me was really exciting. If you aren't familiar, or for anyone watching that's not familiar, the Growth Management Act requires that we have a capital facilities plan for our parks and recreation facilities, and that we establish a level of service that basically says, this is the growth we see coming, and this is how we'll make sure that the existing facilities are not negatively impacted or maintained through that. And the way that the One Seattle plan effectuates that and makes sure that there's consistency is by referring to what is known as the SPR's Parks and Open Space Plan. You can go to the next slide, please. This is a plan that we have to produce every 6 years to stay eligible for state recreation and conservation office grants, which are really important grants for us for acquisition particularly, but also for development and maintenance of our existing facilities. The last full update, and I'll kind of explain the difference there, was in 2017, and obviously we needed to submit another one in 2023 in order to maintain that eligibility. As we were working with OPCD on the comp planning process and looking at our other comprehensive planning processes we do, we realized that the timing kind of wouldn't have worked out. We wouldn't be able to incorporate some of the things that were being proposed in the One Seattle plan. We also wouldn't be able to even fully consider, some of the things hadn't been fully played out that were going to be in the One Seattle plan that might affect us. So one of the reasons we did a light update in 2024 was to provide us an opportunity in the near future to make sure we could align the work that we're going to be planning for and our level of service with what's being proposed in the One Seattle plan. The Parks and Open Space Plan itself, it has several components that it has to include. That includes the level of service. In the 2024 update, we switched from a people per acre to a walkability, kind of a walk shed analysis for our level of service. This is to help us align with what the city is doing overall with most of our planning's relying on the outside citywide data, and it's more, it's actually more realistic of a measure to figure out how people's access to a facility near them. To say they have a certain amount of acreage near them is important, but also is it within a reasonable distance? And the data is really well mapped out that it even actually connects to entry points into each park. It's not just, I could just fly over this hill and get there. So it's pretty nuanced data. And it's much more useful for us I'll explain in a second, as we're moving towards more nuanced metrics for our level of service by assets. The long-term capital facilities plan, this is currently informed by the financial planning partially that we do for the Park District, which I'll get into in a second. But again, because of the timing, it was kind of falling in the middle of our Park District cycles, and so it wasn't aligning perfectly and wasn't allowing us to kind of have a clear progressional step, if you will, from our financial plan, which is the capital facilities plan, to our Parks and Open Space plan, to the Seattle Comprehensive Plan. So the next update will kind of address that. Within that, additional areas we have to cover are capital projects that we have planned, how we plan to maintain our assets, the existing ones that we have, plans for land acquisition in order to, most specifically for us in our gap areas where we're not meeting that level of service standard. And then finally, we prioritize all of those different metrics to kind of determine what work we'll take on and when. And I know there were some questions about kind of how we plan for growth or how we've done that in the past. And so with the 2017 plan, for example, acquisition of new parcels to fill gap areas was one of the things we highlighted. So we acquired Westwood property in the Westwood Highland neighborhood, as well as the Duwamish Waterway Park and its expansion area. Those are two examples of how we address gaps between what we have what we are providing right now and what our level of service requires. Additionally, we will develop new parks, usually on those lands acquisitions, unless they're determined to be for like green belts or natural areas. Then we'll try to develop some new neighborhood parks. Two examples of those are Alice Ball and Greenwood. That was a gap area we had, as well as Christie Park and University District. And then the other way we try to address any kind of gaps or meet any new growth that might occur that affects the level of service is to find ways to expand service in our existing facilities. And one of those is a good example is converting athletic fields from grass to turf, which increases the number of usable hours. And Brighton is one that we did over the last cycle to kind of explain that. And lastly, we do additional studies to kind of identify where we have gaps in certain assets. So an asset you've probably heard a lot about is off-leash areas, and one of the recent ones that we've been trying to study for and identify new sites. We finished a study and have identified 2 sites, and so for example, West Seattle is supposed to have a new dog park before the end of this next park cycle. We can go to the next slide. The Seattle Park District Financial Plan, as you're probably aware, the Park District was established in 2014, and it creates this dedicated, ongoing, predictable kind of funding source for parks and recreation. The City Council acts as the Park District Board and approves our budgets annually as well as every 6 years. We're currently in the second cycle that ends in 2028. This is what we utilize for the capital facilities plan, and it also helps us identify ways we're going to meet and maintain our level of service, and it helps prioritize our capital programs. But it also has its own key performance metrics that kind of measure our progress towards that, and that's what we report out onto you annually. And another reason we wanted to align all these plans is they can also provide us metrics for our other planning efforts as well. Go to the next slide, please. And this is just a visual to kind of explain what we were looking at and why we wanted to delay a full update of our Parks and Open Space Plan. In the past, here you can see the timing issue where we were going to fall before the comp plan and then might have some consistency issues that would require an update. The other aspect was that we were always doing 2 pretty heavy lifts of comprehensive planning that requires a lot of public engagement. It's a lot to ask people to come out again every 2 years to help with a planning process, and you can get a little fatigued from that. And so we looked at how to combine the 2, and what we'll be doing is kicking off in early 2026 is the Parks and Open Space Plan full update that will ensure consistency with the One Seattle comp plan and how it's eventually adopted, as well as include the Park District financial plan within that effort. And just want to, I think I've covered most of these, but we wanted to find a way to, have a single source for kind of our metrics for showing that we're making progress to the goals that we have. Because the plans didn't really speak to one another, it was kind of hard to pinpoint and report out on everything we are doing, because there's other work that we do, outside of the Park District. Again, always want to save time and money, looking for ways to do that, but it's also going to provide us opportunities for looking at ways to improve the way we have been doing our comprehensive planning. One of the things that kind of came to light in the light update that we did is that there's not a lot of tribal engagement, and there's not a lot of speaking to like Native, Indigenous knowledge and ways that they can improve the work we're doing. So that's going to be a key focus of what we're doing in this update. And yeah, I think that's it on this slide. Go to the next slide. And some of the things we're looking at, kind of talking about metrics we're developing. In the interim between the light update and then what we're going to be doing in 2026, we've been working to update our own data and inventory to make sure that on an asset level, whether it's literally plumbing versus mechanical systems versus basketball courts versus community centers, that we have a very good inventory and condition assessment for those facilities so that we can establish level of services for each of the assets, and not just looking at it from a, do you have, a park within a 10-minute walk of you? Sure, but do you have, like, how far away is the nearest tennis court? Like, are all of them located in North Seattle, and we need to find a way to get a few more in South Seattle, for example. So we've been doing asset level planning and analysis over the past 3 years, and we'll continue that throughout this comprehensive plan update, and then we'll utilize all those things to kind of create some new opportunities to define kind of what our level of service will be in the capital facilities plan, and that's what we're looking forward to doing when we kick this off. And that's it.
Awesome, and I will pause, thank you, Annie, and I will pause to see if some of my colleagues have any questions. I see Councilmember Moore. You are recognized.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you for that. I just had and maybe I missed this, but how do we define park? Because it just seems like one thing that would be really nice to have is like a lot of sort of any green space in these dense areas.
Yeah, that's a great question. Currently, for any of our metrics, anything below 10,000 square feet, we do not characterize as a park for the level of service that we have right now in terms of this walkability metric, and anything we don't own or anything that isn't always publicly accessible. So if it's larger than 10,000 square feet, open to the public, and we own it, we include it for all of our metrics and analysis. But for our gap analysis in terms of acquisition, and particularly in our urban centers, we are always looking for opportunities to kind of buy what we call neighborhood parks, which are 10,000 square feet or less. And usually in the denser areas, that's pretty much all the land we can get often. So we have a lot of those neighborhood parks actually in planning in this cycle. So we still acquire them to meet the overall service level metric for walkability, but it doesn't we don't want to consider it. Sometimes we have like a little triangle that's 8,000 square feet. We don't want to say that serves an entire neighborhood. So we take the size into account when we're actually with the different metrics we do.
Okay, thank you.
Any other council members have any questions? No, one of my questions I have, Annie, thank you for the presentation. How do you all factor in staffing when it comes to like maintenance on parks and why we're increasing growth in those numbers?
Yeah, one thing I didn't get into that kind of aligned with the first district cycle was some of the software systems we've implemented to keep track of the work we're doing. And a couple of things that allows us to do is, one, for example, if we're patching the same roof over and over again, looking at it from a more, financially responsible perspective, like replace it. Like if we're going to keep, doing patch jobs, that's not sustainable. But that also lets us know how many hours individuals are spending on our different crews, like implementing this work. It helps us track it against the assets themselves. So if we start noticing that an asset is not being replaced within its life cycle, and that may be because of a capacity thing from a staffing standpoint, then we know we need additional staff on our carpentry crew or on our electrical crew, because we're not able to keep up with our own internal replacement cycles.
That makes sense. And then is there anything that Seattle Parks learned from our last comprehensive plan where they say, hey, we have to get better at this? Something that you're like, we just really need to improve on these couple things from the last comprehensive plan?
Yeah, I think the coordination part, I think there's a lot of it we've been doing, especially as part of this planning effort with OPCD and the other departments, is more interdepartmental coordination and taking more advantage of, where we have land that might serve a purpose better. We're about to kick off a pavement to parks plan with SDOT, where we're looking at opportunities to kind of expand recreation in some of our more dense areas. As I mentioned, our engagement with the indigenous communities has been non-existent in our past comprehensive efforts, so that's something we want to do more of. And I would say the final thing is just getting a better picture of all of our assets and understanding our inventories. We didn't have some of them full inventory for all of our assets, so we can't really plan for all of them, but they all matter, like they all contribute to the overall environment. So that's another thing we've been working on, is making sure that we have all the data to understand the details of the system we have. And then the next step that we're trying to get to is we don't have as much user data from a capital standpoint. We have programs where we know people register and show up, but from a capital facilities standpoint, it's hard to get user data to like include that in kind of our analysis for replacement. So the next thing we're looking at is like, how do we start understanding, capturing user data to add into that like wear and tear metric. So those are the few things we've been looking into.
No, that makes sense.
And if I could briefly add to that, and I think Annie briefly alluded to this in her presentation, there's another really important collaboration that between OPCD and Parks and Recreation over the past several years, which is the Outside Citywide project that has come out of OPCD to it's a more inclusive and comprehensive inventory of parks and open spaces across the city, and a rich analysis of equity and access considerations around those open spaces. I think that's really strengthened the relationship between the departments in this work, and also helped to feed into the comprehensive plan. It's a good tool going forward.
That makes sense. I think a really great case study is Cal Anderson Park. We have, increased density in there, and that park has become like I call it the back port or the backyard of Capitol Hill, and all the many uses that come with that. Sometimes it comes with people taking their dogs to Cal Anderson and using the field, but just, understanding like as we're growing as a city, a lot of the parks are going to be multi-use. I can literally look at the map where all the neighborhood centers are going, where all the growth is going, and be like, okay, and I'm pretty sure you can too, Annie. I don't work for the Parks Department, but just knowing like, hey, I'm pretty sure like this park is going to be impacted or well used, or this park, or oh, I know people are probably going to go here, or this, just certain areas where I know are going to get increased. One of them is Eastlake, as we are upzoning. Well, Eastlake's already upzoned, but the growth that's going to come there, and just Rogers Playfield, how that is just going to be that's going to be the new Cal Anderson Park for Eastlake. So anyways, there's just I know you all are on top of it, but just wanting to make sure that, just listening to lessons learned is helpful. So awesome. All right, well, we're ready to, if there are no further questions, I guess, who the next presenters are.
I'm going to suggest that we bring up the Seattle Public Utilities and Seattle City Light as the next round. While we're waiting for them to get seated, I just wanted to observe, I hope that what's being described here paints the picture as we've experienced it, which is this is an iterative process between OPCD, comprehensive planning, and the work of the departments. We're really focused on sharing information and data. A lot of that data you'll find documented in the comp plan and the appendices. A lot of the data the departments are talking about. It's about the comp plans articulating the goals, values, and priorities in the policies. And then the timelines do not always align in the same way across departments. Sometimes, like with SDOT and OPCD were developing their plans at the same time. In the case of parks, they had a 2017 plan that helped inform the comp plan. Now the comp plan will inform the 2026 Parks and Open Space Plan. That's how it works. At the end of the day, we're striving for consistency, alignment, and serving the growth of the community. So I just wanted to, I think you'll hear that reflected in the other departments as they speak as well.
No, you're good. I know that people usually see parks, like they can see the impact of parks and then transit piece. Oftentimes they don't understand all the stuff that goes behind the scenes with lights and water and all the infrastructure that goes in. I'm a geek, so I'm really excited about what you all are presenting today. Thank you.
Well, I understand that some of our departmental folks just left, and as each one presents, I'm getting a bigger picture about the commitment the city is making to our constituents when we do when we plan for more population here? Because I'm understanding now your question about what were the lessons learned. How do we, like, is there when we expect more people to be living here, we have to then also plan for more costs for parks, roads, et cetera. And so at some point, maybe even though if not everybody is here at the table to ask these questions as they're coming up to me during the presentation, I can follow through with how that planning also keeps into or takes into consideration what it really means for our basic services being delivered as they should be at a level of service that is, is expected by the people and by committed to by the city.
Great. I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues at Seattle Public Utilities next.
Okay. I'm Danielle Purnell. I'm the Director of Corporate Policy and Planning at Seattle Public Utilities, and this is my colleague.
Craig Smith, Chief Customer Officer at Seattle City Light.
So I'm going to start off by giving a quick overview of SPU. It's good that you asked the question about funding. We are ratepayer funded. And our responsibility is to deliver water and waste services to the customers living in the city of Seattle 24 hours, 7 days a week. We also deliver drinking water services to 1.6 million customers in the region. We have an extensive network of assets in infrastructure that includes over 3,000 miles of piped infrastructure. So if you laid that end to end, it'd get us to Boston, essentially. Over hundreds of facilities and over 30 major service contracts to ensure that delivery. We are required to abide by extensive environmental and public health regulatory requirements. And in alignment with the values of our ratepayers and our strategic business plan, we work to manage our services in a way that ensures affordability, sustainability, and equity to access. I want to talk a little bit about how SPU has worked closely with OPCD to ensure that our planning, our investments, and our development requirements align with the city's comprehensive plan. We have participated extensively in this update process. Under the Growth Management Act, SPU is required to ensure adequacy of its services at the time development is available for occupancy and use. And we do that through a cascading four-part approach. The first is that we begin at the very highest level doing systems comprehensive planning for all our services. Second, we then focus in on areas where there's risk or need capacity issues to do planning, as well as asset-based planning. And based on what we find there in terms of risk and need, we prioritize our capital improvement investments that are paid for by Seattle ratepayers. Then at a localized level, which is the fourth cascade, we require developer-funded contributions to ensure that development is meeting set standards and set code requirements to ensure adequacy at the time of occupation and use. I'm going to provide some detail about SPU's systems comprehensive planning. This analysis is done separately for each of our systems: drinking water, drainage, sewer, and solid waste. And these are the studies and details that are referenced in the city's comp plan appendices, as well as the EIS. So if I were to highlight key findings from that work, first, what I would tell you is that we do this continually. We look long-term, over 50 years. When we do our comprehensive planning, we update that periodically, and we do that based on best available growth projections, working very closely with OPCD, On that, we look at climate change projections, we look at conservation behaviors and opportunities, and then we model the capabilities and impacts on our systems, both in terms of what we are experiencing today and what we plan or think we will experience with growth. So in terms of our drinking water system, we know that we have adequate supply through the year 2060. We continue to do forecasting and planning, as I said. And one of the reasons why we know we have adequate supply is that we've been working hard at water conservation efforts and have actually seen a 44% decline in per capita consumption since the 90s, since we introduced our water conservation work. In terms of comprehensive planning and analysis for our drainage and wastewater systems, when we did the modeling and we looked at future growth, we can see that there will be a slight increase in capacity issues system-wide. Climate change, or that increase in precipitation in the city, is likely a big driver of that. However, because of our water conservation efforts, wastewater volumes have actually decreased in our system because water conservation has increased. And we use our stormwater code to control stormwater impacts in our system. I will talk about that and those investments in the next slides. In terms of wastewater treatment capacity, that service is provided under contract with King County, and there are no projected capacity limitations at West Point through 2060. And then with our solid waste planning, we do see that city growth will increase waste and recycling generation in the city. And we are working hard to address the impact of that through upstream efforts to require more producer responsibility around the packaging and the things that we consume. We are working hard on a waste prevention and reuse strategic plan. And we also can plan for that using upcoming solid waste collection contract negotiations. So with that highest level of planning, we then move into area and asset planning. And we do that planning based on places where we know we're going to have capacity needs. And we're guided in two ways. Our area planning looks geographically, and it looks very specifically at where the city's comprehensive plan has identified higher density growth happening, and evaluates whether or not at the same time we think we will have system capacity constraints in those areas. Some of the area planning that we are currently doing for drainage and wastewater is focused in the Del Ridge Basin, is focused also along Aurora Corridor and Licton Springs, as well as Crown Hill. We also do programmatic planning, like I've discussed, that looks at our water conservation potential, as well as what we can be doing with waste prevention. Then when you take all the infrastructure assets in the city, we are also doing asset-based programmatic planning. And there we're looking at two factors when we're doing that planning: risk and opportunity. On the risk side, we look at the age of our infrastructure, the type, the condition it's in, its seismic vulnerability, its criticality to the rest of our systems, its lifespan, its failure rates. And on the opportunity side, you heard SDOT talk about how we work closely with them and with City Light to identify places where the city has the right-of-way open and we can jointly be doing projects. So some of the examples of areas where we are doing extensive asset planning are in the areas of seismic vulnerability and retrofit needs, as well as mainline rehabilitation across our system. I said we have over 3,000 miles of pipe in our system, so there's lots of need for rehabilitation. The third part of our effort, this is the next slide, looks at SPU ratepayer funded capital investment. So SPU's ratepayers contribute over $400 million per year towards capital improvements for our assets and infrastructure. And we look in that planning at 6-year and 20-year needs. The investment of SPU rate dollars is prioritized by regulatory requirements as our first priority. And then right behind that, we're looking at opportunity projects with SDOT and other agencies, as well as where we've received external funding. We then look at system needs, and that's driven by criticality and risk. And then last but not least, maintenance and operations investments. Currently, we estimate that ratepayers are investing about a quarter or $100 million per year of that capital investment program towards infrastructure projects that support growth-related activities in the city. Some examples of opportunity projects that we're doing with SDOT and other agencies include replacing water and drainage and wastewater assets as part of the East Marginal Way Heavy Haul Corridor, as well as Roosevelt East Lake Rapid Ride Center. We also, as I've mentioned, have an ongoing water main and wastewater replacement and rehabilitation program. And an example of one of those projects, right now we're doing a $13.2 million project that is replacing 3/4 of a mile of water main in the Rainier Valley in the Mount Baker and Beacon Hill neighborhoods. We also are investing $88 million in the Bitter Lake Reservoir undergrounding project. That project is primarily addressing regulatory requirements to protect our drinking water quality, as well as address seismic vulnerabilities. But we are designing that project much like we have done Cal Anderson Park and the Lincoln Reservoir there, where we're moving the reservoir underground, so there is an opportunity for parks, recreational open space in a heavily densifying area of the city. And then last but not least, you've probably heard about our Ship Canal Water Quality Project. That one is primarily driven by regulations around combined sewer overflow, but as we were making those investments, we've expanded capacity and localized system improvements to handle growth pressures in the Ballard neighborhood. And then last but not least, development happens all over the city, not just within designated centers. And so to ensure that we have that adequacy of services at the time of occupancy in a consistent and comprehensive way, SPU sets standards and requirements for new development. So depending upon the specifics of what the development is and where it is, developer-funded requirements and contributions can include things like mainline extension requirements, complying with our stormwater code, which is addressing both water quality and water quantity issues, side sewer code requirements, solid waste code requirements, system development charges, and standard charges. So these are the 4 ways in which we are trying to ensure adequacy at the time of occupancy and use.
I think we have a break here for questions, if there are any for SPU. So.
I was looking at the presentation, I'm sorry. Great. I will pause here to see if any of my colleagues have any questions. If not, I will jump into mine. Go ahead. I will pause. Councilmember Solomon.
Yes, thank you very much. I was interested in the infrastructure piece that you presented on, because that's one of the things that I've been thinking about is the sustainability of the infrastructure regarding, our clean water as well as our wastewater, and also thinking about how our abundance of trees in certain neighborhoods are adversely impacting some of that infrastructure. And knowing that, from basically from the main to the house, it's the property owner's responsibility to take care of that. Given how much those kind of repairs could cost, are there programs through SPU to help offset the cost of a line break because of trees that the city planted?
Well, so there's a couple of things. We're working really closely with SDOT, OSE, and Parks on how we all work in the right-of-way to ensure space for trees as well as infrastructure. We don't have a specific program that, and that sets, well, what I'll say is that hopefully sets requirements to reduce conflicts between trees and infrastructure. What I will say, though, is that we do have, SPU has a program where we offer low-income assistance to side sewers that are broken and need repair, and sometimes that is caused by tree impacts on the private property. And that side sewer repair assistance program offers 0% loans to replace and upgrade those lines.
Okay. Thank you for that. I wish I would have known that when I had to take care of that when I lived in the Madrona neighborhood because of trees that impacted the lines that were coming into my house. So thank you for that. That's all.
That is a common constituent issue, I do know, and our dual goals of preserving canopy and upkeep of our infrastructure is that's a point of tension sometimes. So, thank you for raising that.
You answered one of my questions. Thank you, Danielle, for the presentation. I usually read, I have the presentation in front of me, like print out and reading. You answered the question earlier in your presentation about like drinking water availability in 2060. I had a phenomenal tour of the Cedar River watershed that I think is just an incredible asset that our city has, and the level of care that Seattle Public Utilities does, and that whole team up there, phenomenal. And it was just really amazing to see. I was a little scared in the summer to see it shrink down, but they were like, that's normal. And then it builds back up in the fall. So it's good to hear that there are projections, and that is in conjunction with the growth of our city as well. So as we are, growing as a population, using more water, but to your point, we're actually using less water because toilets and all these things are just, better for water. One of the questions, and we can take this offline, it's not necessarily a question, but it's regarding our anti-displacement plan, and I know that you all have low-income programs for folks, and I've talked to a number of people about, and I know our county did it with increasing the threshold for income requirements, and a lot of people just didn't know. But that's one of the things I've been trying to advocate for, is understanding that as our city becomes more expensive, that sometimes we might need to revisit potentially some of the income requirements for families. There's some people that just live right over the threshold, and they just don't fit in between, but they're, it's hard for them to make ends meet, so.
It's good that you're asking that question. We're actually due back to council by April 1st on a proviso that's asking us about joint enrollment in our utility discount program.
Yeah, awesome. Camp free at Seattle City Light too. Y'all are up there too as well. No, I'm just playing. But I think it's important too as well, because that's one of the feedback we get from constituents. And when we're thinking about our anti-displacement plan, are there tweaks or changes that are going to need to be made? So, anyways, thank you. I don't see any questions online, so I guess we can jump to Seattle City Light.
City Light, yeah, you're up.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so I want to talk to you today about City Light's planning in three areas. First of all, our resource planning, which is basically the generating and procuring of energy to meet Seattle's energy needs. And we accomplish that, primarily through a 20-year integrated resource plan we update every other year, and on our climate adaptation plan. And then for grid planning, that's the planning that we do to ensure that we have all the infrastructure needed, all the transmission distribution infrastructure needed to reliably deliver electricity to residences and businesses. And then third, our customers play a really important role in our planning, not just as participants, but as partners. We do a lot of work together to address some of their long-term energy needs as it relates to growth and some of their sustainability objectives. And it includes the planning that we do for many of our energy efficiency programs or demand response programs, and then the work that we're doing around enabling and encouraging transportation electrification and building electrification. So helping power the city's move to decarbonize. Okay, so we can go to the next one here. So a key input, or really foundational input for City Lights planning is our forecast for Seattle's future energy demand. This is a chart that shows City Lights' actual and forecast electricity demand from the customers we serve. And the horizontal axis is years. The vertical axis is energy consumption in megawatts. And I want to note that on this chart, the vertical axis starts at 1,000 megawatts and not 0. So we actually forecast out farther than 2035, but cut the chart off to match the time horizon for the comp plan. So City Light, we forecast for average energy and for peak energy demand. The blue line here is a projection of our average annual consumption. The orange line is peak load, which is the maximum energy demand, the 1 hour in the year when City Lights sees our highest demand. So this looks like a cold, dark winter weekday afternoon when both homes and businesses are consuming a lot of electricity. In addition to that peak day, though, we can have situations where we have several near peak days, and they'll occur over consecutive several hours or several days in a row during a prolonged heat or cold spell. And we can have multiple near peak events in a year, and so we must still plan to meet that load. Our energy demand forecast inputs look like, or before I move to that, you can see that we've got we look back historically from the 2010 to 2020, we actually saw a decline in our average energy consumption, but we've seen an abrupt change. And what's driving a lot of that is not just the growth that's anticipated through the comp plan, but by the growth driven by electrification as we decarbonize the community. We were able to experience that decline in average energy consumption during that 2010 to 2020 period, primarily through energy efficiency. So our sort of legacy of aggressive energy efficiency programs going back to 40 some odd years, and along with significant changes in efficiency through codes and standards and technologies like LED lighting. Okay, our energy demand forecast inputs include economic factors like employment and regional gross domestic product, changing building codes and standards, and data on permit requests from DCI to project demand from new construction. So all of the inputs that we get through our work with OPCD helps drive our load forecast. And then also the state and city policy changes, which influence customers to do that conversion of their heating from fossil fuels like natural gas and oil to electricity. And then we also consider our projections for the number of electric vehicles on the road, cars, buses, and even ferries. Our trends in demand for building electrification from heat pumps. And then also the customer adoption of rooftop solar and efficiency investments like smart thermostats, which help to reduce demand. So demand is extremely important in our planning because we can see that demand for our product and the growth in the city is going to increase fairly dramatically. Well, actually very dramatically over the next 20 years, and then in the next 10 years, we're going to need to make some significant capacity additions to meet customer demand. You can go to the next slide here. Okay, so this graph shows our planning acquisitions of future clean energy resources to meet that growing demand. Graph shows one scenario of energy acquisitions to meet the anticipated load. And as we look here again at this chart, the horizontal axis shows years, and the vertical axis shows megawatts of capacity added. And City Light has a long-term plan for meeting anticipated customer energy needs over the next 20 years that we call our Integrated Resource Plan, or IRP. We developed that plan with input from community and from other stakeholders and industry experts. This IRP projects that City Light will need to nearly double our nameplate capacity resources in our portfolio, and it also plots out what sectors we should be targeting, wind and solar, but also emergent technologies like utility scale batteries, offshore wind, and geothermal. Then we'll also be exploring other technologies, including hydrogen, small reactors, and fusion. And so, as we all know, I mean, right now, hydro is our primary power resource. It's served us well. It's helped us, enable us to integrate a lot of these renewable resources. But looking forward, we're going to have to expand our portfolio. Okay, a key part of that, on those capacity additions, we're going to need to add more base load resources. So we have today great clean renewable resources, but many of them are intermittent, so we're going to have to supplement those with resources like storage, but we're also going to need other baseload resources, like geothermal and then looking at the small modular reactors. Okay, this chart here also shows some, if you look at the top there, the dark blue, the conservation, and then down the orange line, the solar and battery, so customer side resources that will help us offset the demand. In that sort of first 10 years here, we're expecting a contribution of about 118 megawatts of energy efficiency, solar, and solar combined, as well as some demand response resources through a portfolio of programs that we're going to roll out to help shift some of that use from those peak demand days to off-peak times. Okay. All right, we can go on to the next one. Okay, the other area that we need to look at is sort of how we plan for our grid investments. So we're planning for the Seattle's electrical grid for the future. As the city and our service territory continues to grow and move away from fossil fuels, we're going to need to build out more capacity to serve both a denser urban environment at the same time as we are replacing aging assets. Our investments in replacing poles, transformers, upgrading wires, and even building new substations is informed by data on the condition of our assets, the EV charging needs that we're forecasting, and trends and requests from our customers for new electrical capacity. And this can come in the form of a new building or service upgrade to accommodate conversion from natural gas or installation of new solar panels, which push electricity onto the grid. But we're also actively collaborating with customers to plan their future energy needs. Customers like the University of Washington, they're planning their next generation district energy system to move them away from fossil fuels. And to power this with electricity, it's going to require major upgrades in the U district, potentially a new transmission service and a new substation. So, and then the last thing that we're looking at here is sort of real-time tracking of how our system's being utilized. And this heat map here that's to the right of the slide is a planning tool that City Light uses to track how much of our grid capacity is being used at every moment of the day. On the left, what you see is what the grid looks like on a typical mild weather day. When use is low to moderate. And then on the right, don't be alarmed by the red, but it reflects what the grid looks like when we are in a peak load scenario. The coloring here, I mean, don't interpret this as a red being an emergency. It's just the way this map is colored. It shows that the grid is being used in sort of the 40 to 50% range. So we take, all of these inputs and data, and that we use that to inform our $2.3 billion 6-year capital investment plan. About 70% of which is for capital spending related to maintaining the electrical grid and our generation assets. Okay, let's see. We are as we're looking to double the nameplate capacity on our generating resources and modernize our grid. As well as our dam relicensing. I mean, those are all significant investment requires that are going to come the way to our utility and our utility customers over the next 10 years or so. We're going to sort of need to invest in this future as a community to meet the needs for the future, and this is probably going to show up as we bring forward future investment plans and rate paths. Some of the significant investments that we're going to be making on the grid side. Mention the work that we're looking at with the University of Washington and the area around the U District with significant growth and decarbonization activity. We're also going to be probably looking at some updates to our Inner Bay substation to the north. And then to the south, our Duwamish and Creston substations will either see some major upgrades or potentially some additional substation development. Okay. Go to the next slide. So finally, we know that multifamily housing is envisioned by the Seattle comp plan will change the landscape of Seattle's residential neighborhoods. And we're actively planning for what this new density will mean for our electrical system. On the plus side, compared to single-family housing, aging single-family housing and multifamily housing, new construction uses far less electricity per square foot than homes and apartments built decades ago. And our modern building practices result in homes that are much better insulated, have higher efficiency heating and cooling systems. Heat pump technology's done some wonderful things. to lower cost and to add comfort. And so that's going to mean, as we grow, particularly lower utility bills, helping the all-in cost of living for lower residents of Seattle. Doing a lot of work with folks, other city departments, particularly SDCI, Office of Housing, to sort of build out this future. And, you know, we know that one of the things as a consequence of the positive consequence of the increased density and new construction is that neighborhoods will start to look a bit different because there'll be fewer poles and wires as denser buildings with zero setbacks push infrastructure underground, at least new infrastructure underground. Okay, and then lastly, want to thank the staff at OPCD for their strong collaboration with City Light. Been great partners, along with SPU and SDOT and some other departments who aren't here with us today. Our team has participated as part of the IDT throughout the process, reviewed the proposed goals and policies, and certainly provided information on for the utility appendix. So,
Awesome. Thank you, Craig. Really appreciate your presentation. And I'm gonna pause to see if we have council members have any questions at all. Councilmember Solomon.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Chair. Some of the questions I had, you actually answered in your slides. I believe it was slide 35. I was thinking about, you know, our severe windstorms, our bomb cyclones, and how are we going to insulate ourselves from that? And, you know, the idea of burying the infrastructure, having underground infrastructure is one that, you know, I've considered. I'm also thinking it's probably very expensive to do that.
yes, so I'm glad you asked that question just so that I can clarify. We're not planning to underground our entire system. The cost difference between overhead and underground system, if we're looking at our you know, sort of core distribution system, it's about 7x for underground infrastructure than for our overhead infrastructure. So important that we maintain and upgrade our existing infrastructure, and then we've got about 300 miles of existing underground infrastructure that we're going to need to replace. Direct buried cable that's failing. It's going to be an expensive replacement, but important to preserve reliability for those folks who've been experiencing extended outages. So even long term, you know, underground is not always it's not the silver bullet to reliability, that increased reliability that folks think that it is.
Okay.
Aesthetically, I mean, when I talked about sort of that, I'm thinking about in many cases as we're doing some of the infill of fourplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, it would be you know, underground from the pole to the building rather than having the secondary wires coming across, right? So some of that, and then sort of you know, and then for some of our new infrastructure, not a mass change. We do have to make a lot of investment, though, in our in renewing and replacing our existing infrastructure to keep and bring our reliability numbers up.
Okay, great. Thank you. One other thing, the previous slide, slide 34, talking about the clean energy picture. I'm concerned that we have an administration over on the East Coast that is hostile to renewable energy. Again, how can we insulate ourselves from what's probably going to be a disinvestment in wind, solar, geothermal? How can we keep doing what we need to be doing, regardless of what funding may or may not be coming from the other Washington?
Well, I think we continue to advocate for as we're working, and our general manager will be back in Washington D.C. and I believe next week, meeting with members of our delegation, and we want to continue to advocate for those tax credits and other situations that are going to improve sort of reliability and energy security, and renewable resources are an important part of that. And I think we're going to continue to sort of preach the importance of renewables within a portfolio that provides energy security and reliability. We'll see how that plays out. Regardless, though, of how that plays out, we have the leadership of this council and great leadership within the state through the Clean Energy Transformation Act that says we're going there, we're going clean anyway. And we're making those investments. The markets are development. We are in the process of doing energy procurement to bring clean new resources to our community and plan to continue to do so, as are the rest of the utilities in this state.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Solomon. Council President Nelson.
So I used to chair City Light, so I've expressed my concern in the past about City Light's capacity in general, regardless of the comp plan and how much population growth we can anticipate. Are electrifying our built environment, which is a good thing. So on page 34, sort of following on Councilmember Solomon's questions, on page 34, their conservation, offshore wind, enhanced geothermal, solar, battery, solar, wind, etc. A lot of different kinds of clean energy modes. This area has a cluster, a growing cluster of small modular reactor and fusion R&D startups. And in addition to that, the national lab is in South Lake Union, Department of Energy. So is there any planning at all on any barriers that need to be removed or planning for an additional energy source in our mix going forward?
I mean, I think we're certainly want to look at all things that we believe are going to be economic and reliable, and we know that we need to expand on that baseload capacity. I think one of the sort of primary concerns that we have now that I know that our general manager is looking to work on is to improve our ability to partner with others on building and owning generation. So that, and then ensuring that we have access to any tax incentives that come along.
Right.
So that will be a focus for us both at the national level and any other sort of authorities that we need at a state level to allow us to partner.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Craig. I only had one question. It's probably going to be for Chief Scoggins, but regarding all the all the underground wires, I know potentially could ask for another energy response unit for, I don't know, the city. I think we only have one in the city. A transponder blew in front of my house last year.
Transformer?
Transponder. This sounded like, anyways, thank you. You know what I was talking about. Yes, and our phenomenal fire department got there, and I didn't realize that they had to flush carbon dioxide in the lines to get the fire out and so forth. But we had power restored very quickly, and it was just very grateful. But didn't realize the infrastructure in our city and how, and they explain why it actually blew and so forth. And so the upgrades that you were talking about regarding a lot of lines, I can attest to that as well. So anyways, and I'm pretty sure the chief is gonna say, yeah, we need another one as we grow, maybe. All right, well, thank you so much. Looking forward, to hearing more. I know there's some other questions offline that I have, but looking forward to the next, probably Councilmember Kettle's favorite departments, Seattle Fire Department and Seattle Police Department.
You raised a question earlier during the SPU presentation, and I just wanted to put a fine point on it. So the electric utilities, or the energy utilities in the state, not water, but electric utilities, we're required by the Clean Energy Transformation Act to have some program that provides for bill assistance for customers who are between 60 or above, or up to 80% of 80% of median income. So City Light will, we'll be looking to develop something that provides that assistance as required by law. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for that. That's great to know. Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Danielle. Appreciate y'all.
While we're waiting for our colleagues at Seattle Police and Seattle Fire to come to the table, I just wanted to highlight my observation about how the work of these two departments relates to the comprehensive plan. I think what you heard in both of those presentations is how the degree to which growth in housing and in jobs is one factor, and in many ways a less critical and timely factor in our consideration of planning for the future. A lot of the priorities for the future are driven by things like climate change and resilience, trends such as electrification, aging infrastructure. All of those things are addressed and framed in the comprehensive plan. But again, growth and development are just one factor among many. And we have that new climate and resilience comprehensive plan element that also helps to provide a framework for City Light, others, as they do their work. So and joined by Seattle Police Department and Seattle Fire Department. Angela Sosi, did I say it right, at Seattle Police Department. I'll run the slides if you want to do your presentation.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, council members. Angela Sosi, Executive Director of Budget and Finance for the Seattle Police Department. So at SPD, our planning efforts look a little bit different from the other departments that you've heard from today. There's a lesser emphasis on infrastructure and development projects, capital improvements, but it is critical that we track the city's vision for growth and development to anticipate and align our levels of service. As a direct service provider, our most important asset is our personnel. We employ patrol officers who field emergency calls for service 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Detectives who conduct follow-up investigations into violent and property crimes and other types of crimes, and specially trained officers who provide special response services, such as our Harbor Patrol Unit. Other parts of the department function to train, equip, and provide policy guidance, human resources, and employee support services to those delivering the direct services to the public. The department is divided into 5 precincts, each with a police station that serves as the base of operations for that patrol area. Detectives and centralized investigative units are primarily located at SPD headquarters downtown, along with most of our administrative personnel. When we engage with the comp plan effort, we generally are reviewing for major changes to arterials and water crossings used by officers responding to emergency calls. We're also reviewing growth options to determine if they're going to have any impact on our ability to traverse precinct areas or respond across precinct boundaries in critical incidents. From a biennial standpoint, our authorized police positions are established in the city's budget process. The bulk of our planning efforts occur within that process, informed by many inputs, current policy agendas, available resources, demand for services. We operate within constraints within our hiring process and pipeline and infrastructure. As a city, we've acknowledged that there is a deficit of emergency responders in the city, and we are working collectively with the mayor's office, city council, and other stakeholders to address that via the mayor's recruitment retention plan. We've recently made investments into initiatives related to that plan. We've also made investments along the lines of online and telephone reporting, technology solutions, overtime for supplemental police services, civilian staff support to also help meet the demand for public safety services. All that said, when it comes to anticipating growth and development, the growth that we've seen in the city of Seattle in terms of public safety workload, we typically see a gradual increase when it comes to public safety services. We define workload as calls for service. That's going to be emergency calls for service made by the public, calls for service on views by our police officers. That essentially makes up that public safety emergency response workload. And everything more or less stems from that core service that we provide. In terms of, you can go to the next slide, how we're allocating police resources or patrol resources across the city, that all occurs outside of kind of the budget process. We're looking and we are constantly assessing patrol staffing, precinct staffing. The staffing levels are calculated using a combination of workload and performance metrics, such as calls for service, response times, proactive time. Precinct commanders are monitoring daily staffing and augmenting with overtime as needed. Deployment analysts monitor and report on precinct staffing levels and make recommendations for permanent assignments. And professional consultants are engaged periodically to assess current and future staffing needs using advanced modeling. All this to say that while growth certainly does impact public safety services and our ability to deliver those services and meet citizen expectations or community expectations around public safety response, for us, population ratios, they can serve as a reference point, but in terms of just a growth trajectory, we're factoring in to our planning process and staff allocation process, many other variables. The population serves as a reference point for us, but in terms of growth and planning for growth across the city, we have a smaller role when it comes to the comprehensive planning piece. I will highlight, though, and if you could go to the next slide, one area that is a significant impact for us and is addressed in the comprehensive plan is the capital needs. Most of our facilities, over the last decade, we've reached capacity where our staffing shortage has alleviated some of the capacity issues at our facilities, but we do have aging facilities that as the city continues to grow and develop and expand its footprint or service footprint, we will need to likely address over the next 20 years a number of facilities identified here. We're an executive department. We lease our facilities from finance and administrative services. Unlike many of the departments you heard from today, we don't have a capital program. We are dependent on, again, the city budget process to address any needs. The facilities that are addressed in the capital improvement plan are maintained by FAS at a basic level. We identified in the previous comprehensive plan a need for a new North Precinct to address capacity issues and just incompatibility with our needs in the north end. We've also identified a need for a police training facility, joint harbor facility, and then a number of renovations of our precincts to support the city's planned growth of the police department over the next 10 to 20 years.
I don't know, thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was jumping, I saw hands up. Thank you so much for the presentation. I see Council President, you have your hand up, or is that an old hand?
That's old.
Oh, sorry. Quick question, and I want to pause to see if Councilmember Kettle, the chair of our public safety, has a question. Of course you do. Councilmember Kettle.
Just wanted to say thank you for coming and presenting, particularly this last slide. Related to public safety, fire and emergency management are probably more in front. We cannot forget Seattle Police Department needs as it grows, as it needs to grow to match, the growth of the city. And a key piece of this is the facilities piece that you noted, and it's a little bit of a different process here with Seattle PD. But this is a good list that highlights some of the needs of the department. And I would also add, potentially in the future, substations, particularly for those areas that are kind of isolated. I just had a meeting with Councilmember Strauss with the Magnolia Community Council, and Magnolia is isolated, and having a substation, would be very beneficial. Obviously, it's tied to the staffing that was noted at the beginning of the briefing, but clearly Seattle PD has its piece too in terms of the overall public safety. So I just wanted to say thank you for coming and representing the Seattle Police Department and ending with this slide. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Councilmember Kettle and Councilmember Solomon.
Yes, thank you very much. Hi, Angela. Real quick, I know there are plans to expand North Precinct, basically split North Precinct into two, and having like a Northwest Station and Northeast Station, and there was opposition for that in years past. Is the current operational planning to look at revisiting that so we do actually have a Northwest and a Northeast separate facilities?
The North Precinct, I would say, is just generally on hold for now. We've addressed some short-term needs at the North Precinct. There is a piece of property that was purchased for the new facility. There was it was at the time planned as a singular facility. I don't believe that there's been any recent discussions around splitting that up into two locations, although I know that there is department interest in potentially having a Northwest and Northeast Precinct.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious as to where things were at with that. So, and again, knowing all of these facilities, I know that they need some upgrades. So, yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Angela. I don't have any questions. I'll probably just go offline with some of mine regarding how many, not just capital needs, but like officers, how many versus our population and so forth. So I'll do that offline. Thank you.
Great. Before turning it over to fire, I also want to underscore the importance of this slide, which illustrates the nexus to the comprehensive plan for the direct service providers in the city, like police, like fire. Our comp plan, and you'll find it in the appendices, identifies those key capital projects that are anticipated that will be needed over the next 20 years. We have the data, the priorities and approaches described, and then the project lists. So that's something you can look for in the comp plan. That is the purpose of the comp plan, to document those looking forward. Chief Scoggins, you're up.
All right, thank you. And you can move to the next slide, although that's a pretty good slide right there, I gotta tell you. First, I want to thank the council for your patience and listening to all the departments this afternoon, and thank you to Office of Planning and Community Development for allowing our folks to participate in the meetings, and we provided some of the input that you'll see in the comprehensive plan for the fire department. But I like to, that's a little out of whack, on the mission and the services there. I'm not sure what happened there. But what we try to do is, what I want to do before I start this is to answer some questions that were asked along the way. Excuse me. Councilmember Hollingsworth, our energy response team, that's done in partnership with City Light. So when we stood that program up, City Light was right there at the table with us, helped train our firefighters on the electrical grid, the systems, the challenges that we face, and they also purchased Energy One, is our response vehicle. And they also provide funding annually for the ongoing training so our firefighters can stay proficient in fighting those energized type fires. So that's really important. And Councilmember Nelson, you asked early on about metrics and things like that. So in the fire department, our whole world is based on metrics. So our response times are based on NFPA 1710, and that provides guidance for our response times to fire and medical emergencies. And it gives us our baselines on what we should be tracking when we need to add additional resources. So getting on scene of a medical emergency, the response time expectation is about 5 minutes. That's a minute to get out the door and 4-minute travel time. On a fire emergency, it's 80 seconds to get out the door because they have to put on all of their fire gear and 4 minutes travel time. Our goal is to see firefighters on scene in 8 minutes or less. And the reason why that's important for a fire is that fire starts to grow at a rapid pace after 10 minutes. So that's important. The reason why we try to get on scene so quick for medical emergencies, because if you're having a cardiac event, the brain starts to deteriorate after 8 minutes. So we need to get there, get to the patient, and start providing care. So those metrics are important for us. The Washington Survey and Ratings Bureau, they actually set the insurance rates for the communities across Washington. They have a recommendation that a fire unit should respond to about 2,500 calls a year. As many of you know, we were evaluated about 5 years ago, and we will be evaluated every 5 or 6 years ago, and we were identified as a Class 1 fire department, the only one in the state of Washington and the first one in the state of Washington. For getting calls out the door, NFPA 1220 sets our dispatch standards, how long it should take for us to answer the call, how long we should be on the call before we get those units moving out the door. So all that comes into play on how we look at when we should be adding units around the city. That becomes our baseline on what guides us. So it's important to start there. Our mission is to save lives and protect property and the environment from fire, medical, and those other emergencies. And these days, other keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But that's our baseline of our mission, and that's really what we strive for in the Seattle Fire Department. The map on the right gives you an idea of the resources that we have deployed on any given day. We operate out of 33 fire stations, neighborhood fire stations, strategically located around the city. Now, if you overlay the areas that will be upzoned in the future to our map of our station locations, it may look like we have pretty good coverage around the city, and that's okay. But what we don't know, and this is what we'll continue to assess in the future based on NFPA 1710, NFPA 1220, and our response call load, is when we need to add resources based on the call loads. That'll become very important for us. You know, we do some basic and fundamental things. I mentioned fire and emergency and medical response. Our mobile integrated health program, I'll talk about that a little bit on a slide coming up, because that's done a lot to help manage our call load for us, and it's pretty important to note that. We also do technical rescue, marine fire response. We have boats on the Sound, we have boats on the freshwater, we have divers, we have rescue swimmers, we have rescue watercraft. So all of those resources are available. And we have additional specialty teams out there, our hazmat team, our energy response team, our decon team, and our shipboard firefighting team. So that list goes on and on. But we also do fire prevention. So as the growth starts, our Fire Prevention Bureau is very important because we review all of those plans for any new structure that comes in the city. And our goals are simple: fire and life safety. We try to make sure they have the latest and greatest technology so those who work, live, and visit Seattle are safe. That's pretty important. We can go to the next slide. I think all of my slides are a little out of whack, but that's okay. I can roll with it. You know, as Angela mentioned, you know, we've been having some challenges in getting our staffings where we need to be, but we're on the track, moving in the right direction, thanks to Mayor Harrell and the City Council for your approval of the recent budget. So our recruitment is top of mind. We're going to be doing it more frequently, annually. It's good to note, we still get a lot of applications in the Seattle Fire Department. We got over 3,800 applications, just over 1,500 folks passed with a high enough score. And late January, early February, we interviewed those 1,500 folks, and we'll be getting a certified list here sometime in March, and we'll start that process of building that up. We also had to do something different this year because we needed to boost our firefighter paramedic lateral ranks. So we opened up a process there, the first time in the history of the Seattle Fire Department for lateral firefighter paramedics. We received 81 applicants, and 63 were qualified, and 37 passed the process. So we're in the process of doing those interviews. So our recruitment is going well. So we do believe we're going to be able to fill our ranks, especially over the next 2 years. We increased our hiring from 60 a year to 80 a year, and our goal is to meet those goals, 160 over the next 2 years. So that's really going to help us out a lot. And you can move to the next slide there. Alternative response and recent initiatives. So alternative response has really been good for us. We started a vulnerable adult program years ago, and what that program does is when a firefighter goes on scene of an incident, a medical incident primarily, and they see there's a vulnerable adult, generally an older adult, we said, hey, we're going to be coming back here a lot unless we do this. So we created a program where we actually have a form and there's follow-up. Maybe it's a handrail needed because there's a lot of falls that's happening in that home, whatever it is. So that's a part of our mobile integrated health program. Then we have our Health One team that launched in 2019. And in 2024, just to give you an idea of the impact that it's having in the community, 2024, we responded to over 3,500 referrals that are not 911 dispatches. What that is we have gone to that location 3 or more times in the quarter, and we have identified that's a location that we need to go to do follow-up to prevent the next 911 call. So over 3,500 times. Now, Health One also went out on over 1,100 direct dispatches. The reason why these points are important to note is they would have been in the 911 system if we did not have these resources out there. So these calls are being taken out of the 911 system. We will continue to do creative things like this in the future as the city continues to grow. And I should also mention our nurse line. That's really important also. In 2024, our nurse line diverted over 6,900 calls to our nurse line that had a nurse on the other end of the line that was able to talk to the person and get them the care they needed. And probably less than 7 or 8% of those calls actually come back to the 911 center. So that's another positive resources. And I tell you this to let you know, we will continue to do creative things like this because all responses doesn't need an engine or a ladder. A lot of them do. But if we can take them out the system with different and creative resources, then that's what we'll do. Fire prevention, this has been a big one, our vacant building legislation. As we met with Councilmember Kettle today, we gave him a little update there, and my team will be getting an update tomorrow. But these were buildings and locations that we were going to over and over and over in the community. And in 2024, when the legislation passed to the end of 2024, a number of those structures came down. And that created a number of eliminated a number of safety issues for the people going inside of those structures on a regular basis, for our firefighters and police officers going in those structures on a regular basis. And now they're gone, so that hazard is eliminated. We'll continue to work on new and innovative programs like that, along with our preventable alarm initiatives. We're doing a lot of things to try to reduce the number of false alarms in the community. And I tell you this to let you know that as the city continues to grow, we're going to be right there at the table thinking about different solutions that are going to help. And then the last slide just touches on some of our future facility needs. South Lake Union, a land and water-based fire station, with the activity and the growth in the community, sometimes it's pretty complicated to get our Puget Sound personnel to the freshwater roads. So expanding that resource is really going to be important for us. A north end training facility is really going to be important for us. Our units that are in the north end of Seattle, when they come to the south end of Seattle, which is where our joint training facility is, many times it takes them over an hour to get there for our training. That's mandatory training, and it takes them an hour to get back. So for a 2-hour training, we lose 4 hours of coverage around the city. So our strategy in the future as the city continues to grow will be to stand up a north end training facility. BLS facilities, new headquarters, but I really want to spend a few minutes on station expansions and thank the council because recently you fully funded Ladder 13 and Medic 26. And at some point, we'll have to do those station expansions to accommodate those personnel. But as we think about growth in the future, it's not always new stations. Maybe it's expanding existing stations to accommodate additional resources. So all of these different things we'll be looking at in the future as the city grows with the comprehensive plan. I'll pause there.
Thank you, Chief Scoggins. That was great just to understand the growth and everything that you all are planning for, and also to see where areas of improvement are as we do grow, and just like the strategy behind everything that you all are doing. I will pause here to see if any other council members have any questions at all. Councilmember Kettle.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to say thank you, Chief Scoggins, for briefing today and highlighting work that you're doing. And one of the things that's clear is fire department's role as we grow as a city, and the importance of planning ahead in terms of the ability to respond. One of the things I noted in the SPU briefing, they talk about key plans and findings. 2019 drinking water system plan, shaping our water drainage wastewater plan and treatment plan flows, wastewater treatment plan flows, solid waste plans, and so forth. But there's also, the need to provide water to the hydrants, provide waters to the trucks, provide water to those buildings that require, the ever getting taller buildings, and and those requirements and those impacts on the fire department. And these are the kinds of things that I also see as important to highlight and to account for as we go through our planning process. Can you speak to some of those pieces, and you can use the LA fire, what LA faced in terms of its challenges, maybe as an example of some considerations?
Sure. That's always a concern for us. Getting water to do the job we need is always important. The LA fires were, that was a challenging event. I've been on wildfires down there where the Eaton fire was. I was on what's called the Kenaloa fire about 30 years ago as a young firefighter in Altadena. I was at that fire. And you have to imagine this, because a lot of folks talk about running out of water and different things like that. When you have 10 fire engines on a main that are trying to pump water out of that main, and those engines can pump 2,000 gallons a minute, and if you put 10 of them on there, that's 20,000 gallons a minute. I'm not sure what water system you have that can absorb that, because it's just so much volume to pull out that hydrant. And generally the mains aren't that large to handle it. We have challenges from time to time here in Seattle. You may remember just a couple of weeks ago, we had a third alarm fire over in Ballard, and we had a lot of our resources. And by the way, I got to tell you, the firefighters did a great job. If you haven't driven by there, you'll notice there was a structure under construction, and there were several more to the west of it under construction. None of those structures were lost. And the only structure that was damaged was to the east of it. Firefighters did an amazing job. But we put engines all around that neighborhood on different mains, and we partner with Seattle Public Utilities all the time, and they turned up the pressure for us because we were running away from some of the volumes. So we have a great relationship where we do that, but it wasn't the magnitude of LA, but we have it built in our systems where we'll get SPU on scene, they'll identify the problem, and they'll start turning up the pressures for us, because when we have multiple ladder pipes running, ground monitors running, hand lines running, that's a lot of volume. So that can happen anywhere. So when SPU upgrades the infrastructure, you'll probably see a lot of firefighters smiling because we have more capacity. It's just a mathematical formula on what can come through those hydrants. Generally, it's about 29.8 times the diameter square, and there's a coefficient based on what's in the pipe times the square root of the pressure, and the diameter square is the opening. It's either a 2.5 or a 4-inch opening that you can actually pull water out, and you can just calculate the volume based on the pressure, and we do that, and we pay attention to that, and SPU's there with us. So we're going to have those challenges in the future, but the more we upgrade, better for the community.
Thank you, Chief Scoggins. That's a great example. And as we plan for the future, so this public safety element of the challenges that we're facing has to be taken in consideration to ensure that as we grow, SPU does do that kind of expansion and and account for for the demands beyond what was on slide 27. And so I appreciate you highlighting that. And I think you're the last briefer. But I also view Office of Emergency Management as part of this process too, a very important part of this comprehensive planning effort that we're underway right now, and as we move forward. And I know you work closely with OEM as well. Is there anything you can add from that perspective?
No, I think Curry Mayor does an excellent job, and it's all about planning. So we'll continue to work together and partner, as we grow.
Excellent. And again, somewhat like the the SPD briefing, it's building out those capacities, which has a FAS aspect to it, but it's so unique that it does fall in this public safety. Can you speak to the idea? And this happens in the military all the time. There used to be McChord Air Force Base in Fort Lewis. Now it's Joint Base McChord. It used to be Naval Base Bremerton, Naval Base Bangor. Now it's Naval Base Kitsap with 2 subsections. In terms of like joint public safety operations, locations and facilities, is that something that you could see, moving forward?
Yeah, anything's possible. It just takes space, and Seattle's a pretty built out city. So if you're going to co-locate multiple entities from city departments, you have to have enough space. And as you know, we come with some pretty big stuff. Our engines are 30 feet long and 9 feet 6 inches mirror to mirror, and they run about 9 to 10 feet high. And the ladder trucks are about 60 feet long with the same width and the same height. So it just takes space for all the people that's going to work on that equipment to do that.
Yes, and
Councilmember, I'm sorry, I apologize. I don't mean to cut you off, but we actually don't have quorum anymore. We have 4 council members. Council President Nelson had to leave, so unfortunately I have to adjourn the meeting. I apologize. I do want to keep the conversation going. Thank you so much. My bad.
Points made, Chair. We're all good.
Okay. My apologies. I really appreciated your presentation, Chief Scoggins, and I say this with wholeheartedly that we are just so blessed to have you at the helm at Seattle Fire Department with your knowledge, your expertise. I know we are in great hands as we grow as a city, so thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, if there's no further questions, our meeting's going to come to a close. Thank you, everyone. With that, do my colleagues have any more items of business? If you do, unfortunately, we can't hear it because we are wrapping the meeting up. It is 4:24 p.m. and this meeting will adjourn. Thank you.